This man, who looks like a startled chicken, that's Steve Witkoff, currently the envoy to the Middle East, and somehow also involved in communications with Putin. This bumbling idiot real estate lawyer turned bumbling idiot envoy for the government managed to make a grieving family's life even worse by handing them over a Russian medal given to him by Vladimir Putin, which was meant as a disrespectful dunk on this man's parent, who happens to be a CIA operative. The Trump administration has been fumbling this war since he took over. In a rare moment of self-reflection, it seems like the Trump administration has realized that they don't have what it takes to end this war. Make sure you're subscribed to Really American, and let's dive right into it. This story revolves around Michael Gloss, the 21-year-old son of a CIA deputy director and a CEO of a security tech firm. Michael decided it'd be a good idea to go to Moscow and volunteer for the Russian army. This kid's political opinions were pretty all over the place, but we'll touch on that in a second. Michael Gloss was killed in Ukraine last year after traveling to Moscow and volunteering for the Russian military, after dismissing criticism of their invasion as Western propaganda. The 21-year-old, who reportedly struggled with severe mental health problems for most of his life, was later revealed to be the son of Julianne Galina, the CIA's deputy director for digital innovation, and Larry Gloss, an Iraq war vet and CEO of a security tech firm. Like I said before, this kid's political opinions were all over the place. He thought that Russia's invasion of Ukraine was Western propaganda, but he was also posting stuff like this: ACAB, as far as the eye can see, with a picture of himself and some graffiti that says Antifa. Also, other graffiti that says nobody is illegal, while he's wearing a shirt that says no one is illegal on stolen land. I'm not sure how he justified Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but clearly this kid had something of a heart and a lot of mental health issues. So of course, here comes somebody from the Trump administration to make everything worse. Here's the headline from CNN: Witkoff delivered Russian medal from Putin to family of American who was killed fighting for Russia in 2024. Now we have to remember that Steve Witkoff was a real estate lawyer. In fact, that's how he met Donald Trump. Dumpy Don was his client at some point. And seeing as we know that Trump loves to surround himself with slimy lawyers, we can imagine that Witkoff helped him get out of a bind or two. And so Witkoff comes from a world of slimy gifts, of passing messages behind people's backs. He probably didn't realize that it was strange for Putin to have asked him to do this, even though it's obvious that the Russians were just trolling us. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff delivered a Russian medal to the grieving family of an American who was killed fighting for Russia in 2024, a senior administration official told CNN. Earlier this month, when Russian President Vladimir Putin gave the medal, the Order of Courage, to Witkoff, some advisors saw it as something of a diplomatic dig. The Order of Courage, which I've also seen it reported as the Order of Lenin, is a Russian Federation decoration, typically given to Russian citizens to recognize selfless acts of courage and valor during times of emergency, disaster, and war. And he thought it was worthwhile to give the medal to Julianne Galina, the CIA's deputy director for digital innovation, and her husband. Now, I really hope that somebody along the line was smart enough to scan the damn thing or run a metal detector over it at least to double check it for some sort of bug, because you can bet that the Russians wouldn't give two shits about a grieving family and could just be seeing this as an opportunity to get some more intel. Honestly, the Russians have been absolutely dog-walking the Trump administration this entire time. I know it, you know it, hell, Trump even appears to know it, as it seems like he's taking a step back, letting his dream of having Hillary Clinton nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize die along with the Epstein files. President Donald Trump is handing off responsibility for one of his signature campaign promises. The U.S. president will leave Russian and Ukrainian officials to organize a meeting between Putin and Zelensky to discuss an end to hostilities without taking a direct role himself, according to The Guardian, citing officials familiar with the situation. Trump's reluctance to push Putin and Zelensky to a meeting comes as he has acknowledged in recent days that ending the war in Ukraine has been more difficult than he had anticipated. Wow. How often do we hear Trump taking an L publicly like this? He's been bragging about all the wars he's ended, trying to force people to nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize, saying he was going to get this thing done on day one. Yet here we are, almost exactly 8 months into his presidency, and this war isn't even close to ending. I think the world already knows that the only thing that's going to end this war is either Putin taking back Ukraine or Putin dying. The Russian dictator has long dreamed of reuniting the USSR. It's clear from his lackeys wearing a CCCP shirt as they stepped foot in Alaska. But sniffing his own fart fumes and getting high on that delusion is the only drug that Trump partakes in.
Putin wants more land from Ukraine, right? Zelensky, that's a non-starter for Zelensky. He does not want to give land to Russia. I mean, seems like they're at a stalemate. What would be the beneficial in that meeting?
Yeah, hard to say. Hard for him to give land away. Hard for him to do it under the Constitution. On the other hand, and President Trump has made this case, there is what is de facto and what is de jure. What I mean by that de facto is what are the facts on the ground. De jure means what's legal. So, for example, Crimea was taken illegally, occupied, annexed in 2014 by Putin. Unlikely that that's going to come back anytime soon. Any land, any territory that Putin's forces now occupy, I don't see them giving that up. That's just realistic. Doesn't have to be recognized as legal. No one has to say, of course, you deserve that. But you could say, okay, leave it in place. That's what's called a frozen conflict. It's a way of if you could leave it that way and end the fighting, that's still an accomplishment, I think, especially since if you did that, if you froze the conflict along what's called the lines of contact, then Ukraine remains very much an independent, sovereign, free nation, which is what Putin doesn't want. And we've discussed this, Brittany. He doesn't want it for two reasons. One is he thinks it's imperative that he drags Ukraine back into the Russian/Soviet empire. And two, because Putin does not want, as a next-door neighbor, a free and democratic country. It's a bad example, he thinks, for his subjects.
As for the Russian-Ukrainian war, it seems like we're still in the same place we were 8 months ago when Trump took office. Hopefully soon we'll be nearing the end of the bloodshed, and no more misguided young Americans find themselves on the front lines. Only misguided MAGA Americans like this guy here. Be sure to subscribe to Really American to stay up to date on the kinds of stories that Trump doesn't want you to know about. I'm Tony Hinderman, and I'll catch you next time.